It's been an incredible year. The SpaceX team, I think, is the best space team that has ever been assembled on the face of the Earth by far. And the achievements of the past year demonstrate that. I think to a degree that is mind-blowing. Like what you have achieved over the past year is nothing short of incredible. And one day we will indeed occupy Mars. So let's go through everything that SpaceX has achieved that you have done, and it's actually going to take a while, by the way. This is going to take a minute. So first of all, with Falcon, we have achieved the most launches of any rocket in a single year ever. So the next best was the Soviet Soyuz, which I think did a little over 60 launches in a year, and we did 96. So so no other family of orbital class rockets has launched more than 63 times a year. That was Soyuz, and we did 50% more. The Falcon Heavy also surpassed, in terms of heavy lift vehicles, the record for Saturn V, which I think did. I think we with 5 launches last year, we exceeded the Saturn V record. So that was like pretty incredible on Falcon Heavy. So this gives you a sense in pictures of how incredible that was. For a while there, I was like, I'd be posting something, is this like the launch that just happened or the one that is happening? Or because there were like 3 launches that happened in the space of a few days. So, but this is all the launches on one page. And so it's really, really incredible. All made it to orbit, all landed. So just a huge hand for the Falcon team. That was incredible. So. And 2/3 of the missions were Starlink, but 1/3 were for other customers, for NASA, for other communication satellites. It was a combination of Starlink plus a lot of other missions. So even if you just take the non-Starlink portion of the flights, that was more than any other vehicle last year by a long shot. We launched NASA's Psyche, ESA's Euclid, the X-37B spaceplane, multiple transporter missions. We did missions for OneWeb, Viasat. And we're actually on contract to launch Amazon's Kuiper constellation. And we treat everyone fairly, so just one. We managed to do 19 flights on a single Falcon 9 booster, which is really incredible, in 3.5 years. That booster did 860 satellites and delivered 260 metric tons to orbit. So it's like, wow. So there's a lot of wows. It's worth, how long ago was it that we landed a booster? It was actually 8 years ago, in December, roughly 8 years ago. And since that time, we've landed 260 times. So 260 landings. It's just like, wow. There were a lot of people that said that it couldn't be done, and then there were a lot of people that said even if it could be done, it's a dumb idea, that it wouldn't pay off, that it wouldn't make sense. But we've shown that in fact it is absolutely the right idea. Reusability is the key to a great future in space. It's essential. We need reusability for rockets, just like we have reusability for cars, for airplanes, for bicycles, for horses. Obviously, reusability is essential. And the fundamental invention that is necessary for humanity to become a multi-planet species is a full and rapidly reusable, reliable rockets. So, like Space Pirate.
VC, start the launch auto sequence. Prop confirm you're ready for engine chill in 30 seconds.
Prop is ready for engine chill.
Spacecraft.
Yeah. So it's incredible how much has happened in 8 years. So, I wonder what will things be like 8 years from now? And hopefully I think we will have landed on Mars. And I think we will have sent people to the moon. And maybe if we get lucky, we'll have sent people to Mars within 8 years. The key question, sort of, I think, about for civilization is, the key test, perhaps, for civilization is, do we make it through this Fermi great filter of going from a one-planet civilization to a multi-planet civilization? And if we do become a multi-planet civilization, we may go out there to other star systems and discover many long-dead one-planet civilizations. And we don't want to be one of them. That's lame. We don't want to be one of those lame one-planet civilizations. But I think we should always regard civilization as fragile, as not something that, not a situation where there is an inevitable upward trajectory. I read a lot about history, and if you read history, you see that civilizations are anything but permanent. That many civilizations have risen and fallen over the years, over the centuries and millennia. And eventually the sun will expand, boil the oceans, and destroy all life on Earth. Now, admittedly, that's several hundred million years in the future, but it's only about maybe 10 or 20% of the existence of Earth itself. If Earth is 4.5 billion years old, then another 20% longer, and intelligent life would not have evolved, because it's taken us a long time to get to this point. So, that's really the key test. Do we become a self-sustaining multi-planet civilization while civilization still exists, or don't we? I think that's really the key question. I think we've got a good chance, but it's not a sure thing. That's why time is of the essence. I think we want to make Mars self-sustaining as quickly as possible. It's not just a question of getting people to Mars, but it's getting enough tonnage and equipment to Mars to enable Mars to be self-sustaining. The key test being that if the resupply ships from Earth stop coming for any reason, does Mars die out, or does it continue? That's really the fundamental threshold to pass the Fermi paradox great filter. And the Fermi paradox is, where are the aliens? If life is common, if intelligent life is common, shouldn't we see a lot of evidence of it? Now, I get asked a lot about aliens, actually, and I usually say I am one. Well, actually, I used to be, according to Homeland Security. It's an alien registration card, literally. I was like, okay. But the truth is, I actually have not seen any evidence of aliens, which I think is maybe a bit more troubling than if I had. I have not seen any, and I'd be on it, and you can pretty much guarantee that I would post about it instantly, okay? I was like, yep, we got one. This is a spaceship for sure. But I have not seen anything. So that leads me to think that we're more likely to be a tiny candle of consciousness in a vast emptiness, a vast darkness. That the civilization that we have is really just this very, very small candle in a vast darkness, and we just must do everything possible to ensure that that candle does not go out. Yeah. Anyway, I think we can do it. So, but we need to move fast, because you just never know. I mean, there could be at any given point, like Stephen Hawking actually, I believe, said that he thought there was like roughly a 1% chance in any given century of civilization ending. That was his rough estimate. I think it actually might be higher than that. So we just want to go there fast. So this is getting back to Falcon 9, back to reality. These are all the launches we've done. And you can see how the cadence of launches has rapidly increased over time. I think people online have actually assembled videos showing every launch, and it just gets like crazy fast as you get to 2023. So we've done a 19.3 flight. We're now qualifying Falcon 9 to be able to do 40 flights, and we're aiming for maybe as much as 150 flights this year. So, and then let's not forget fairing recovery, because actually a lot of people don't realize we recover the fairing as well. This was actually very difficult to recover the fairing. So it costs an immense amount of effort. But we now quite regularly recover the fairing, and we've reflown fairings 300 times. So congrats to the fairing recovery team. That was actually pretty damn hard. Oh, and then of course we do operate basically a small navy. I think people don't always know that, but we have drone ships and support ships of various kinds. So we've got a small fleet of ships, and we operate them very efficiently. I think people also sometimes don't know the size. Like you can see the size of the ship by the person walking around on it. Not small. So it looks cool. I like this sort of, it's kind of a Darth Vader aesthetic, but I like it. So, yeah, big round of applause, guys. Wow. So flight 2 actually almost made it to orbit. In fact, ironically, if it had a payload, it would have made it to orbit, because the reason that it actually didn't quite make it to orbit was we vented the liquid oxygen, and the liquid oxygen ultimately led to fire and an explosion, because we wanted to vent the liquid oxygen because we normally wouldn't have that liquid oxygen if we had a payload. So, ironically, if it had a payload, it would have reached orbit. And so I think we've got a really good shot of reaching orbit with Flight 3, and then a rapid cadence to achieve full and rapid reusability. And I mean, kind of the mind-blowing thing is, like, there is an actual path that we are on to make life multiplanetary. Can you friggin' believe that? Like, what? Yeah, we just got to get it done before civilization ends. But like, I think it's going to happen. Yeah, right here. So, anyway, so in terms of getting there, we obviously want to accelerate the production and testing, get to a high cadence. For any given technology development, it is. How many iterations do you have, and what is the amount of time between each iteration? So every time we launch, every time we launch or do a test, we learn something more. So increasing that cadence of launching and testing, and it's always better to sacrifice hardware rather than sacrifice time. Like, time is the one true currency. So it's sort of the fastest path to, as I was saying earlier, rapidly reusable, reliable rocket. Yeah. So, and we've got a block, sort of a version 2 ship that will be more reliable, better performance, endurance. We've got a version 3 ship design that will stretch that be even taller. Probably end up being, I don't know, 140 meters before it's all said and done, maybe 150 in the end. in length. So yeah. So it'll be even taller than it currently is. Yeah, and so with flight one, the goal was not to blow the pad up and ideally get some distance, which we did. With flight two, it was to get past staging, so we achieved the goal of getting past staging and almost to orbit. And then flight three, we've got well, we want to get to orbit, and we want to do an in-space engine burn from the header tank and prove that we can reliably deorbit. We want to do a tipping point header domain propellant transfer. This is important for the NASA Artemis program. And we want to also demonstrate the payload door for the sort of PEZ dispenser for delivering the Starlink, the V2 non-mini, actually probably V3 technically, but the really giant satellites to orbit. Yeah. So, like I said, the mass orbit ultimately of Starship will be, over time, I think millions of tons of payload to orbit. So, I mean, compared to present day mass to orbit, it'll be more than 1,000 times. I mean, more than 1,000 times greater than mass to orbit currently. That's what it will be eventually, or it needs to be. So we also want to demonstrate on-orbit refilling. This is very important for the NASA Artemis program. So we're very proud to be part of the NASA Artemis program. I'm always incredibly grateful to NASA for their support and for trusting us to take astronauts to orbit, to take cargo to the space station, and to be an integral part of getting astronauts back to the moon. One of the other questions I get a lot is, did we really go to the moon? I've gotten that from a lot of people, and I'm like, yes, we went to the moon. More than once, in fact. But the crazy thing is that it's been over half a century since we last went to the moon. So, I think maybe that's what causes people to be skeptical. Like, how come we can't go to the moon now? It was 66 years from the first controlled powered flight of the Wright brothers in 1903 to landing on the moon in 69. So only 66 years. But like 50 years have passed since we last went to the moon. But now we're going to go back there, and we're going to go back there soon. And we're not going to go I think the next step, I think, is to build a moon base, like Moonbase Alpha. Make sci-fi real. Not remove the fi part of sci-fi. So, but in order to go and land on the moon, one of the technical challenges we have to solve is orbital refilling, where the starships dock on orbit and transfer propellant. Now, we've gotten very good at docking because we dock with Dragon to the space station, which is actually more complicated than docking with our own spacecraft. So we have a lot of expertise in docking, so I'm confident we will solve this, and we just ideally want to solve it hopefully by the end of this year, but certainly by next year. And that's a big deal. This is one of the fundamental technologies that's necessary to build a city on Mars and to have a moon base. And then, we'll also be launching some very big satellites. World's biggest PEZ dispenser. And we do hope to do this by the end of this year. And then, more about the NASA Human Landing System. So, as I said, we're extremely grateful to NASA for entrusting us with a fundamental part of the Artemis program. We want to make sure we do a great job for NASA. and really we are a very fundamental part of the Artemis program. So if we do not succeed, which we will, but in order for the Artemis program to succeed, we must succeed with Starship. Like I said, we actually want to far exceed what NASA has asked us to do. So we want to go far beyond the NASA requirements and actually be able to put enough payload on the moon with enough frequency that you could actually have a permanently occupied moon base. That's the next really big threshold from Apollo, is have an actual moon base. I remember seeing this, like, I guess kind of cheesy sci-fi show a long time ago called Moonbase Alpha. I don't know if anybody's seen that, but like the moon actually drifts away from Earth. Now this is not going to happen, but it was a cool show, Moonbase Alpha. But we need a real Moonbase Alpha, and we're going to do it. So yeah, as I was saying, this is the long-term goal. This is what we want Mars to look like: is starships coming and going, an incredible, beautiful Mars city, and a flourishing civilization on Mars. Ultimately, we can transform Mars into an Earth-like planet with terraforming. Just needs to be warmed up, really, and then it could be ultimately an Earth-like planet, and we could bring the life from Earth. We could extend life from Earth to Mars. And really, it has to be, humans, actually, because it's not going to be the dolphins. But we can bring all the creatures with us, and we can ensure that life on Earth continues on Mars, even after Earth becomes unlivable in the distant future. So anyway, I'll go into questions.
From breaking news, detailed analysis, in-depth interviews, and explainers, follow the Times of India. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Don't forget to like our videos and hit the bell icon to stay updated with the latest.